Hello, my name is Widhyasmaramurti and I'm from Faculty of Humanities, Universitas Indonesia and a postgraduate student of School of Government and Public Policy Indonesia. So today on the first international virtual seminar on endangered language and linguistics held by Master Program Department of Linguistics, Faculty of Cultural Sciences, Universitas Sumatera Utara, I would like to present my paper with the title Endangered Languages Preservation Policy in Indonesia, Challenges and Opportunities. So basically, this research comes from my consideration of Indonesia as a country that's full of cultural richness. So according to ethnologue, there are around 722 ethnic languages where each language differs in the amount of speakers. So Indonesia has ethnic languages spread from Sabang or the western part of Indonesia to Merauke, the eastern part of Indonesia. And these ethnic languages speakers ranging from not endangered ones like Javanese, Sundanese, and Maduris according to Sugiono in 2019 to endangered ones, where mostly the endangered ones are those spoken by people in the eastern part of Indonesia. So Indonesia as a state respects and maintains its ethnic languages as its national cultural wealth. It can be seen based on the amendments of Constitution of 1945, Article 32. And it is also supported by Law Number 24 of 2019, Article 41 and 42, where language preservation becomes the responsibility of the state. But the implementation is left to local government. So this raises a question to what extent that Indonesian government supports its language resources through language preservation policy. So we can see it based on challenges and opportunities. The method that I use in this research is a qualitative method by in-depth interviews to prominent resources who guided the issue of two language preservation policies that are used as the data. So the data is two endangered languages in Eastern Indonesia, namely Kafoa language in Alor Island and Pagu language in North Halmahera. So basically these two languages is a project of PMB LIPI, or Center of Community and Cultural Research, Indonesian Academy of Sciences, which was funded by Bappenas in 2011 until 2015. And I'm glad that I was a part of the documentation language of the Kafoa language in Alor Island in 2012 until 2013. As you can see at the right side, there is picture of Kafoan language children. So moreover, we continue to the next. The theory that I use in this writing or in this research is Theory of Stages of Policy Cycle by John and Warwick in 2007. So they propose four stages of policy cycle. The first one is agenda setting, which consists of problem recognition and issue selection. And then continue to the policy formulation and decision making. And the third one is implementation as support or as mentioned by the law of number 24 2009 that the implementation return to the local governments. And then the last one is evaluation and termination. So for the analysis for Kafoa language, they have a bottom-up policy process, which was raised by the awareness of the indigenous people of the Kafoa language speakers, which realized that they need to preserve their language before the language probably because it's already endangered. So they need to preserve their language, otherwise the language will be gone by time. And then it's also an output of PMB LIPI project in 2011 until 2015. And as for the policy cycle, the first is agenda setting. So PMB LIPI conducted problem identification and solution through 3 years of language documentation process. And then they continued to issue selection, which was informed through scientific accountability journals, books, and a video. And the video was published online on YouTube that you can search by writing a keyword of bahasa Kafoa, and then you can see there's a video with the title Kafoa untuk selamanya. So I recommended you to watch the video because it's very informative to be watched to see what Basal Kafwa is. And then the second stage is policy formulation. So in here, PMB LIPI conducted focus group discussion with local community and policymakers, and then continue to decision making where there is a policy selection and enactment with regional people's representative and the region or the Bupati himself. Basically, the Bupati supported what was conducted by PMB LIPI to preserve Kafoa language, and he was also hoped that the PMB LIPI can assist him in preserving other language in the island. Unfortunately, PMB LIPI cannot assist the region, and then the PMB LIPI suggested that Bapak Bupati to form uh, a group of people to be in charge for the language preservation, which will be probably guided by the PMB LIPI. But unfortunately, it doesn't work until now. So the language preservation in the Alor Island is stopped at the Kafoa language. And then the third stage is policy successfully implemented locally, because as we can remember, the third stage is the implementation, and it was implemented by enforcing it through education, which was taught in two formal education institutions, which was the elementary school and the junior high school at the Habolat and Lola. And the fourth is evaluation. And fortunately, from 2015 until this 2020, the policies still work well and also implemented well. And then we continue to the part of Pagu. So Pagu language, the language preservation policy for Pagu is also bottom-up policy process. It was assisted by local community under Ibu Afrida Erna Ngato until the policy was published and issued in 2015 by former region. But then, under the new local government, the policy was terminated without previous notice. And based on my interview, it's probably because the conflict of personal interests that play a dominant role. So to conclude, there are challenges and opportunities that we already see. The first one is language preservation policy in Indonesia is a bottom-up process that differs within each region because of its complexity. For example, like the Kafoa versus the Pagu, the Pagu language. And then the second one, policy cannot be separated from political conflicts and conflicts of personal interest. This is the case of Pagu language. And then the third, terminating a policy at the regional shows the lack of legal policy by the government to the language preservation process. And fortunately, there are still opportunities. The awareness of indigenous people, because they know that the language need to be preserved. This is also in the case of Kafoa and Pagu languages. And there's still some support from the local governments. This is the case of Kafoa language. And there's also a possibility to be enforced through local curriculum. This is in the case of Kafoa language. So by enforcing it through local curriculum, I think this is the real implementation where the language preservation can work well. So to answer the question, to what extent Indonesian as a state support the language preservation policy? Basically, support only by the system of Law number 24 of 2019. But the implementation within the local governments is a bit complex and tricky. So I hope as a recommendation, the national government can propose a law. I mean, the first one is proposing a law as my recommendation, where the Indonesian government can form a law that where the local where the local governments issued or published a language preservation policy, the new local government cannot terminate it unless they provide a better solution or giving a better policy. And the second recommendation is forming a model of policy that can be adopted or copied by other local governments. And the third one is assigning government resource. So, I mean, Indonesia has Badan Bahasa, right? So, and also Indonesia has 722 ethnic languages. What if the 722 ethnic languages divided into the amount of the resources of Badan Bahasa, where each of them will become the PIC or person in charge of the language preservation of particular ethnic languages. And when they retire, they will share their knowledge to the new employees. So it means, I hope that based on this step, the language preservation policy, particularly for endangered languages, can work well. Of course, this is still a long way for Indonesia to have a better language preservation policy, so I welcome for input and suggestions. And then, yeah, these are the references that I use only for this presentation. And lastly, I want to show you a video. This is a credit of PMB LIPI 2013, a video about Kafoan language. So this is the Ibukuta, and this is the Habolat, mother of Habolat. This is Lola. This is Lola. So they come for open market every Thursday. And this is the farm where they planted rice. This is the wedding ceremony, and this is the school. So last but not least, thank you for watching my presentation, and please keep on supporting language preservation, particularly for endangered language preservation. Thank you.